10 super important questions to ask somebody you're talking to about building your backyard project and why they're important.
I think it's important to ask a pool builder, how long is the build going to take? Because I think you can see if they're lying to you or not.
For a lot of people, it's the biggest purchase they'll make outside of their home.
I think understanding how the pool builders you're interviewing handle problems is one of the most important questions on this list.
Everybody, welcome back to Denali's Deep Dive Podcast. Here with Jordan again today. We'll talk about 10 important things. 10 seems like a lot.
Yeah, but it's a big decision. It's a lot of money.
That's exactly right.
A lot of money.
A big decision. I think about that sometimes when I'm thinking about folks that come to us to talk about building a swimming pool in their backyard. Some of them coming to talk about more than a swimming pool too, right? Like they're talking about, we're going to have a complete backyard makeover. Mm-hmm. It is, for a lot of people, it's the biggest purchase they'll make outside of their home.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Most folks, I'd say it's the second biggest purchase they'll make in their life. Most folks.
Yeah, and so it warrants some pretty in-depth question and answer sessions. I feel like, right? Like, you and I have both been in the situation where people just want a ton of information, and I'm always willing to give that to them to the best of my ability and be as transparent as we can. Today, 10 questions. We won't say the 10 most important because I don't know how to qualify that or not.
It might vary from person to person.
10 super important questions to ask somebody you're talking to about building your backyard project and why they're important, okay?
All right.
So I'll say the first one, who's going to manage my project day to day?
Yeah.
Why is that important?
Man, you got to ask that. So I feel like a lot of people are under the impression when they get bids from pool builders that the sales guy that comes to their backyard or the designer that comes to their backyard is just going to be there the entire time and they're not going to have anyone to manage. I sit sometimes and I think about it and I'm like, man, if I had to design this and know all the codes to pass permits, and I had to know how to price this thing, I had to know how to pick the materials, and then you wanted me to build every aspect of this. That is a lot of hats on one person.
Yeah.
I think my opinion is it's important to ask who's going to manage your project so you have the correct understanding and expectation as a homeowner. And also, I've told people this before too. I think if you can, it's good to try to meet that person. Yeah. Because most of the time your sales guy or your designer is not who will be managing the project every day. You'll have a dedicated superintendent. So I think it's really important to ask. Yeah,
I agree that as designers, sales folks, we want people to love us right away, right? We want to develop that rapport and that relationship. It's important, I think, to understand. I think it gives you a look into how companies are set up too.
Oh, yeah.
Structure. If the guy does come to your house to design it and he owns it and he runs it and he designs it and prices it and he's sitting on the tractor, to me that is a very important look inside of that company. And it can create problems, right? So knowing who's going to be on the job, I think super important. And as you build, things change. I think another question super important: who's going to handle changes on my job?
Oh yeah, who's going to handle changes and things that come up? Absolutely. Different companies are structured different ways. And I think you want to have the expectation of who to talk to about that when changes do come up.
Okay.
There are actually some companies that have the superintendent or project manager deal with change orders or deal with even materials. And some companies aren't structured that way. You know, we're a little bit different here in the way we do it. I don't disappear. I handle the change orders through the process at Denali. It's a little different. But
super important. Agreed. How about experience, man? How long you been in business? How long you been doing this?
Man, you'd be surprised how many people don't ask that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because they've seen our reviews and they've seen us around for so many years. Maybe that's why they don't bother asking me anymore. But I remember getting that question all the time when I first started. How long have you guys been doing this? How long have you been doing this? I can honestly say, looking back, now that I've been doing this for 9 years, I mean, it matters.
Yeah.
It really does matter. You should ask anyone that you interview with this big of a project, with this expensive of a project, how long have you been doing this?
Great point. I think something that immediately comes to my mind is it usually takes 2 to 3 years for a company, a new company, to get up and get going and start being profitable and get in the black. And I think there's a lot of great companies that are made through that process. There's also a lot that don't make it, right? So if you can talk to somebody that you know has made it through that phase, that now can handle warranty, that a bad job's not going to put them out of business, right? Or even a misbid job's not going to put them out of business. I think that's super important to know. And just as the answer to the question, we can say we've been doing this for, like 14 years, right? That's awesome thing to be able to see and do. And not everybody has made it that far. How many pools do you build a year? That's another question.
Yeah, I really think that matters. And to be clear about this, I think that different size companies can fit different people better.
I agree with
and
that
what they're
100%.
looking for. Some folks, honestly, you mentioned before, like a single guy operating the tractor himself, kind of. Maybe that is a good fit for you. Maybe you really do just want one guy and he's doing 5 pools a year, and that's what you're after. Some people want a completely different approach, which is I want somebody that does 300 pools a year and has been around for over a decade and has examples of tons of warranties that they've gone and they've fixed and they've been there for. I guess my big reason for asking something like that is in regards to warranties. I see a lot of pool builders say, we give a lifetime warranty on our pool shell. But they've only been around for 2 years. You see the problem with that? You see where that gets... Anyway, I think size does matter, though, and volume really does matter,
Cool.
Because it tells you what kind of company they are and if it's a good fit for you, I think.
The answer to that question can be different for different people. It depends on what you're looking for. But if I'm shopping, I want somebody that does more than 5 pools a year because I want to feel like they know what they've encountered different situations and they know what the heck they're doing. Right?
For sure.
In-house labor versus subs.
Yeah, we get that question a lot. Why is that important? I ran into this at our other office in San Antonio a few times because there's a couple big builders down there that have in-house subs. Why do I think that's important? I think it's really just important to know the structure of the company. My personal opinion of why those two things and the pros or cons is probably a little bit longer and involved answer. But I feel like it's important for you to know how it's structured and to understand who you're talking to when guys come to your house and who they're associated with. I think it really does matter to understand just the company structure.
Yeah, not that it makes a ton of difference, right? But to understand that and know, right, is important.
Yeah.
References, that can be a big deal, right? Can I go see some of your projects? I feel like that one is huge. If somebody says yes to that right off the bat and says, yep, I've got one right up the street from you. I've got one in this town. I got one in that town. I got one in the neighborhood next to you. For me, that's a huge deal, and I think it is for a lot of people. I think people being willing to share names of past clients, people that they work with and have good things to say. If somebody is super willing to answer that question in the positive, here's a list of all these people you can go talk to. Let me make a few phone calls. We can go even look at some pools. I think that one is huge.
Yeah, and people can generate, like we talked about in other podcasts, is people can generate reviews. Sometimes it's good to talk with a real person or see a real pool.
Asking about realistic build times. We've talked about this one before, right? Like realistic build times and what causes delays.
So I'm going to say why it's important, and I don't think this is probably what you would say, and that's all right. I think it's important to ask people, I think it's important to ask a pool builder, how long is the build going to take? Because I think you can see if they're lying to you or not. I'm serious.
See if the corner of their mouth starts switching.
Yeah, if you get a guy that's telling you some crazy time that no other pool builder has told you, there's a good chance he's wrong and he's over-promising in one area, so he's going to over-promise in other areas.
I like that.
I think you should ask build time also just to plan your life out. How long is this going to take? Because I got to keep my kids out of the yard for this long.
Yeah.
How long do I keep walking the dog, But those are the reasons why, I think.
This is a big one, and you've heard this one 100 times, and I think it's super important to ask, when you're comparing apples to apples, right? What's included in your base price or what's an upgrade?
Yeah, I do think that is important to ask. I will say, I think it's important to ask. I think you should ask what's in the base price and everything like that. With that question, you do need to be careful because people will get tricky with you there.
Yeah.
People will get tricky. They'll say something is standard, but you're always paying for everything in the proposal.
Right.
Nothing is free, you're always paying for everything. But it is important to ask, what is your base? What is standard to you?
Yeah.
Right? What is standard to you?
Yeah. And something that comes to my mind is like, hey, when you say what's included in your base price and what's an extra and upgrade, I think about finishes. Immediately, that's where my head goes, is finishes and equipment. It's like, well, yeah, we have 5 6x6 tiles that you can go look at and pick from. You're like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
Or there's these 3 colors of limestone that you can choose from. I feel like obviously that is one end of the spectrum, and you have the other end of the spectrum. Hey, it's totally custom, and we have totally custom materials and plaster and all those things. So I think it's important to understand where you fit into that kind of pendulum there.
And you can't really do an apples to apples unless you get that information, the finishes and stuff.
Hey, builder, what happens if there's a hiccup in my project? Do you feel like that's an important thing to talk about beforehand? Like, who's going to handle an issue when it comes up?
I think that's super important. We have rules at Denali of how we handle stuff. We use the 1-3-1 method, right? We go out, we meet with you in person, we state the problem, we say 3 potential solutions, focus on those, and then we give a recommendation based on those. We're not perfect. There's going to be problems and things that come up. I think understanding how the pool builders you're interviewing handle problems is one of the most important questions on this list, because there's going to be problems no matter what.
Yeah.
There's no perfect construction job. It doesn't exist.
All right, last question, Jordan. What warranties do you offer?
It's important to know. It's important to know what warranties they offer. If you can get into the nitty gritty and see the actual, my favorite warranty on builders' proposals is the lifetime warranty on the gunite shell. What does that really mean? Is that smoke and mirrors? What does that cover? I think the reason why it's important to ask about warranties is because you might be getting told something and you might think that this builder is better than the other one.
Yeah.
But the warranties might actually be more similar than you think when you really dive into the nitty gritty on it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, to me, like, I do want to know what's covered, and as a consumer, right? If I'm spending this money here, how long are you guaranteeing your product?
Yep.
How do you stand behind it? Do you? There's some of those warranties that are industry standard, right? But you do have some people that go above and beyond. Like decking, for example. I mean, you can almost look across the board and people are like, hey, there's a year on this, a year on this, a year on this, and a year on this, right? I think it is important if you have somebody who's willing to go out there and say, look, our sub's going to warranty this for a year, but we're going to warranty it for another year after that, right? To make sure that you don't have problems. If it hasn't failed by 2 years, the odds of it failing are really, really low, right? So I think that is going to help consumers set companies apart from one another as they look. How are you going to stand behind? How long are you going to stand behind it?
Yeah, not just the number.
Yeah.
How are you going to stand behind it?
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. All right, man. 10 good questions. Who's going to manage my project every day?
Covered it. Yep.
How do you handle the change process? Experience. How long you been in business? How many pools do you have a year, or even under your belt? Do you use in-house labor? Do you use subcontractors? References. Can I go see pools? Right? Can you let me talk to some people that you've built for? What's the build time? How long is this going to take? What's included in your base price? What's an upgrade? What happens if I have a problem on my project? How are you going to handle it? Who's going to handle it? And what are your warranties? How long are they, and how do you back them up?
Yep.
Great questions.
All great questions.
All important. All right, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thanks.